Word to your mummy. You know what time it is. So don't go anywhere. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness. 80s-a-thon. How much more 80s can you get than Teen Wolf? At the time, it was a big deal. It had a sequel and a cartoon series. But how good is the original film? Frankly, it's average, except for one standout feature, Michael J. Fox. Without him, this would be a run-of-the-mill cheesy B-movie, but Fox's likability raises the bar. Everybody knows him as Marty McFly from the Back to the Future trilogy. But he wasn't originally cast as Marty. Another actor, Eric Stoltz, was the original. And while Stoltz was filming Back to the Future, Fox was working on Teen Wolf. In an interview one time, Michael J. said, "Steven Spielberg's down the road doing great movies, and here I am playing a werewolf." Well, of course, the role of Marty was recast, and Fox got the part. It's funny to know that's how Michael J. Fox was picturing himself at the time of the shooting. Embarrassed to be a werewolf.
I'm a werewolf.
He had Lon Chaney Jr. syndrome.
Now I change into a wolf.
I turn into a wolf.
I change into a wolf.
In Teen Wolf, Fox plays Scott Howard, who's just your typical teenager that's upset that his life is too ordinary, but that's all about to change. He plays on the high school basketball team and is lousy. He wants to date the popular chick while being oblivious to a girl named Boof who likes him. What kind of name is Boof, by the way? I assume it's a nickname, but they never bothered to explain it. He's also got a nutty best friend named Styles who likes to wear zany catchphrase t-shirts and acts like a fool. This movie is drenched in 80s fashion. Just check out Styles' pants. One of his other friends on the basketball team is Chuck, played by Mark Holden, who you might remember as Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So far, it's all typical stuff until the beast inside Scott begins to emerge. He starts to find hairs on his chest, grows fur on his hands, and notices he's growing pointy ears. And then he makes a full transformation into a wolf. With the transformation scene, they use a lot of cutaways, adding on makeup between each shot. It's not like the Universal movies where they gradually applied makeup to Lon Chaney's face through a series of cross dissolves. It's cheaper, but still works. It turns out his father's a werewolf too. Yeah, it's just a family curse, and Scott is unhappy that his father never told him about it. Like, oh yeah, thanks, I just transformed into a fucking werewolf. I gotta talk about my favorite scene. Scott tries to buy a keg of beer, but he's underage.
Give me a keg of beer.
And of course, he doesn't ask for any specific kind of beer, just beer. During one of his basketball games, he gets the ball and they all huddle on top of him. His aggression takes over and he becomes a werewolf right in front of everyone's eyes. In real life, everyone would be freaking out, but here they get excited about having a werewolf on the team and he becomes a real big shot. It makes no sense, but it's a comedy, so you can go with it. Now the popular girl likes him, he's a star player, the team's winning, everything seems to be going good. But going around as a werewolf all the time starts to bring about problems. So in order to win the final game and to get his life all back together and all that good shit, Scott just has to be himself. Not a bad moral, but come on, don't you want to see the werewolf again? The last act is just a long basketball game and becomes more like a sports movie. It's kind of like the tournament at the end of The Karate Kid. But at least there you get to see Daniel use some skills that he's learned to defeat his opponent. Here, nothing special happens. You keep thinking he's going to have to turn into the werewolf at the last minute, but it never happens. Overall, it's a fun movie, but too bad Scott's dad wasn't played by Christopher Lloyd.
Great Scott.
So that's it. Do I really need to talk about Teen Wolf 2? Why not? No Michael J. Fox here. This time the star is Jason Bateman, from the Hogan family. It's just a rip-off of the first movie. Same plot, same gags, not a whole lot to say. Instead of high school, it's college. Instead of basketball, it's boxing. And instead of being a cool movie, it's just a bunch of horse shit. It's that certain kind of shit sequel that just tries to capitalize on the success of the first movie. It's almost like a musical because there's so many song and dance scenes. Oh my god, they even do the entire song. There was also the Teen Wolf cartoon, which I remember watching all the time when I was a kid. Nowadays, nobody seems to remember it anymore. It's faded into obscurity like other 80s cartoons, like Back to the Future, The Karate Kid, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Man, they must not hold up too well. Yeah, the Teen Wolf cartoon, it wasn't that great, but had some memorable voices. You know who that is?
Now let's tally the votes.
Well, it's the same guy who did Ray Stantz from the real Ghostbusters. Yep, Frank Welker, who was also Megatron and Soundwave. Best thing about the Teen Wolf cartoon? The intro. Is that 80s or is that 80s?